Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Beto O'Rourke's campaign to return America to 1995 is off to a surprisingly rough start tonight. Instead of telling us more about his skateboard tricks and his sweet weed hookups, O'Rourke is apologizing for his skin color. Truly. We've got more on that just ahead. But first tonight, the Mueller report coming any day now. Now, to be clear, we don't really know that it is coming any day now, but everyone in Washington is saying that. But there are indications that it might be. Former acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker, for one, has said it's pretty much wrapped up. In any case, all of this will end at some point, and when it does, there will be chaos in the news business. Every interested party will work to spin it to their own ends. Before that happens, let's pause to put this in perspective and remember how the Russia hoax began in the first place. Throughout the 2016 presidential campaign, Hillary Clinton and her surrogates in the media attacked Donald Trump for his role in pushing the birther story. They didn't just argue that it was dumb to think Barack Obama was born in Kenya. They said it hurt America. They said it delegitimized Obama as a leader by casting him as an illegitimate president. Those are fair points. If you can't prove something is true, you shouldn't claim that it is. If you don't like a president's policies, argue against them. Offer a better alternative. Don't claim that he isn't really the president. That doesn't help the country. Somehow, though, Democrats learned the opposite lesson. And so for 3 years, they have pushed their own far more harmful conspiracy, the theory of Russian collusion. This was all invented, as you know, by the Clinton campaign for short-term political gain during the race. Newly unsealed court documents show how Fusion GPS, working on behalf of the Clintons, worked to publicize the fraudulent Steele dossier. The dossier was never more than gossip. No responsible news outlet would publish it, even those that hated Trump. Instead, Fusion pitched its lies to government officials. Fusion founder Glenn Simpson met with Bruce Orr at the Department of Justice. Christopher Steele met with Jonathan Weiner at the State Department. Weiner spread the disinformation to his colleagues. Eventually, even President Obama and Jim Comey were briefed on the dossier. Never has unverified opposition research in a presidential campaign reached higher levels of government. Meanwhile, the press used this fact as a pretext for publishing the dossier. No, we can't prove it's true, but people in the Obama administration are talking about it. Therefore, it's news. The editor of BuzzFeed admitted that was the thinking on this show.
This document that is being fought over, and that, by the way, everybody except the public, in a certain sense, has seen. We've seen, and we don't have any special powers. At what point does the audience say, we can see this too, and we can deal with the fact that it is clearly labeled as unverified, that it's clearly labeled that some things in it aren't true, which is what we did.
I kind of get it. I mean, so what you're saying is because famous people are gossiping about it, and because other news
famous
organizations...
people, the President of the United States, the President-elect, and the intelligence agencies.
A famous person. They gossip too. And by the way, let me just note...
Not gossip. Official briefing, a document that, by the way, is a public document subject to the Freedom of Information law.
Well, actually, in some senses, gossip because it's unverified. And the difference between what you did and what Drudge did was what Drudge reported turned out to be true, whereas it looks like what you reported is not true. Not gossip, official briefing. Please. It was a ploy to defame a political opponent. Everyone knew that. And in fact, in the years since, no evidence has ever emerged to verify the dossier's main claims. It was fake then, it is fake now. But it still caused an awful lot of damage. That fraudulent dossier was used to justify the grotesque civil rights violations perpetrated on Naval Academy graduate Carter Page. It justified multiple congressional investigations, which ground government to a halt. It helped destroy a relationship with Russia. That didn't need to happen, but it did, thanks to this hoax. And, of course, the dossier justified hundreds, if not thousands, of totally irresponsible remarks by politicians and journalists. You may remember some of them. Congressman Ted Lieu said there was a, quote, cloud of treason over the White House. Eric Swalwell of California called Trump a Russian agent, quote, hiding in plain sight. Even Nancy Pelosi, who's supposed to be a responsible leader, who's old enough to know better, said it was certain that Russia was blackmailing the president. All of these were lies. Nobody has ever apologized for them. When the Mueller report does drop, whenever it drops, how will these people explain to their followers, the people who take them seriously, the NPR listeners, the people who read The New Yorker, the entire audience at CNN, why there's no proof of collusion in the document? According to one poll, 67% of Democrats believe it is probably or definitely true that Russia tampered with vote tallies to help Trump win. Now, in Washington, people know that's ludicrous. Everyone here understands the game. But out there, people really believe this stuff. Pelosi and Schiff and Swalwell told them it was true. MSNBC's entire lineup backed them up. Will those people be disappointed, or will they just assume that Putin somehow got to Mueller, too?
Welcome back. Top Republicans blasting the Mueller probe transparency vote as a failed attempt by Democrats to divide the party. This comes as officials warn the end of the special counsel investigation may not be near.
Wow. Well, Todd Pyro joins us live with the latest on Capitol Hill. Good morning, Todd.
Happy Monday, guys. The symbolic action passed unanimously, calling for the Attorney General to publicly release the Mueller report. But Congressman Doug Collins says not only is there no collusion, this vote was a stunt simply by Democrats to divide Republicans and make them look like they're hiding something.
They have no agenda. They have nothing that they can actually put on the floor. So they wasted an entire week of the American taxpayers' dollar to actually put a report on the floor that said nothing. Why are we wasting the American people's time?
Democrats say that's not so.
I don't think it was a political stunt at all. What we saw leading up to that vote was the president suggesting that perhaps it didn't need to be released, and concerns with the answers by the Attorney General to be spot on and saying it would be released. And Congress did what it's supposed to do.
So what does the president think? He tweeted, quote, on the recent non-binding vote, 420 to nothing in Congress about releasing the Mueller report, I told leadership to let all Republicans vote for transparency. Makes us all look good and doesn't matter. Play along with the game. And despite weeks of speculation that Mueller is wrapping up, former U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara says not so fast.
I think people should view with some skepticism the notion that gets breathlessly reported every week that the Mueller investigation is coming to an end. I don't know that the work of the special counsel is ending anytime soon.
All this comes after Collins released damning documents on the Clinton email scandal, with more potentially on the way. Carly Rubb?
Is this thing ever going to come out?
At some point.
Hey, next week. I hear next week, Todd.
I know, but everybody's heard next week, and then Barr goes on and says not so fast.
I'm being so sarcastic.
Until it's out, Schmitty, we don't know.
Okay.
Set your betting lines right now. Let us know what you think.
Todd, thanks.
President Trump fired back one day after the House voted 420 to 0 to make the findings of the Mueller report public, insisting there should not even be a report. Here now is Ken Starr, former independent counsel under President Clinton, a Fox News contributor and author of Contempt, a memoir of the Clinton investigation. Good to see you tonight. I want to start with what it looks like when people start to wrap things up. You pass things on to Robert Ray, whom I've had on my daytime show. And so I just want to know, if you're doing things like the lead prosecutor, Andrew Weissman, going on to other things, that was announced this week. But oppositionally, you're putting resources in to fund this probe by Mueller until September. So what does it look like? What did those things mean to you?
Well, it means there's still wrap-up work to be done. Apparently, he is clearly in a phase-down mode. But it takes a while. It takes weeks and perhaps even months to bring everything to conclusion, get all the sentencing done, and so forth. And, of course, he owes this confidential report to the Attorney General. So there's work to do.
So is there any doubt that we're going to get to see that? I mean, did anybody listen to what, at the confirmation hearing, what William Barr said, our new AG? He's been an AG before, so he knows people are going to be listening and writing down his words. And he said, look, I have a good relationship with Robert Mueller. Reportedly, that caught some people in the White House by surprise. And he was sincere about how long they'd known each other and that he fully intended to release it according to rules and regulations. So why 420 trying to get to see it if he already said he'd do it?
Well, it may be because folks are starting to read the regulations, and the regulations bind Bill Barr until he says, I'm doing away with these regulations. The regulations, as you know, Harris, require the special counsel to just present a, quote, confidential report. That's a key word, isn't it? To the Attorney General. Then under the regulations, and these are regulations that have been in effect for 20 years, and they go back to the Clinton years, those regulations then call upon the Attorney General to notify the Congress with an explanation of certain actions that he took. The regulations under which Bob Mueller was appointed do not contemplate a report to Congress. So it's sort of, oh my goodness, we have apparently just not been aware here at the House of Representatives that there really is no genuine reporting requirement. Now, we'll see. The Attorney General is very able. He's got a lot of discretion.
All right. I want to get to this real quickly. March 5th, John Brennan said Mueller's last indictments could come Friday, which that was 2 weeks ago. Let's watch.
I wouldn't be surprised if, for example, this week on Friday, not knowing anything about it, but Friday is the day that the grand jury indictments come down. And also this Friday is better than next Friday because next Friday is the 15th of March, which is the Ides of March. And I don't think Robert Mueller will want to have that dramatic flair of the Ides of March when he is going to be delivering what I think are going to be his indictments, the final indictments, as well as the report that he gives to the Attorney General.
Woo! 10 days ago, former director CIA reading some tea leaves that I must have put in my teapot. Because, I mean, how could he get it so wrong?
Well, it's speculation, and he obviously does not have the gift of prophecy. His prophecy did not come true. And I really do think it doesn't serve the country, the American people, well when people sit around, and I try to avoid making these kinds of, frankly, idle predictions. It maybe gets viewership interested, but it's not a public service.
Interesting. Ken Starr, thank you for your perspective and expertise on this. Good to see you tonight.
Good to see you, Harris.